Hello. Um, One of my biggest passions in life, other than tabletop role playing, is movies, television shows, anything with the moving image. I'm a massive fan of lots and lots of different things, some more than others, of course. And over the years, what I've watched, what I've experienced, and the things that I love help influence the way that my games go. Now, I spoke about this before about influences, especially things with those dark places and what have you. Um, but I thought I'd have a chat about a few of the movies that I was watching growing up with that influenced me and affected the way that I was running role playing games. The first one, of course, Star Wars. Star Wars came out at the perfect time for me. I was just about to hit my double digits as a child, and when it really took off and really grabbed me, I was in my early teens. So Star Wars was absolutely spot on for me in every single way. I was running Star Wars games in Traveller. I wasn't really running. I partook in a couple of games in Star Wars Traveller, but then really hit the stride when it came out as the Star Wars the role playing game from West End Games in 1987, celebrating the first 10 years of Star Wars. Amazing. But yeah, Star Wars, the biggest, longest campaign ever, and it was the movies, the original movies, the three movies, and quite a lot what they were doing with the early EU, so the comics, the cartoons, which really influenced me. So that was absolutely amazing. As a child, it's mind blowing. Makes you realise that your creativity is boundless if you can create that sort of thing that George Lucas put up on the screen. And then throughout the 80s, I was influenced by lots of things. I love Star Trek, a massive fan of Star Trek, the original series. It wasn't until the late 80s that we got Next Generation, which I was kind of cold on for the first couple of seasons, because I was excited about it. But the first season didn't really grab me, and then from season 2 onwards it started to improve, and then from season 3 onwards it was an absolute banger. And then of course beyond that you've got Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and what have you. I kind of stopped watching Star Trek halfway through the Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise, because I kind of like the fact that the Next Generation had moved on from the original series, and then Deep Space Nine and Voyager, and they were taking steps forward. But then Enterprise sort of went all the way back, sort of pre the original series. I was kind of thinking, to me, like Star Trek's looking to the future. I don't understand why you've gone back. And it was entertaining, and it turned out to be a pretty good show. I actually quite enjoyed it in the end. And then they did the same thing with Discovery. They've done the same thing with Strange New Worlds, and that's as much as I'm enjoying them. I don't understand why they took a step back. Star Trek, like I say, is supposed to be looking towards the future, but that's just personal preference. I don't have a demand on it. I'm just enjoying what they're giving me, to be honest with you. And then, of course, Picard season 3 happened, and I kind of fainted because I absolutely loved it. I absolutely adored it. That scene where they're on the bridge of the Enterprise and they're all there on the Enterprise on the D, and it's like that's what we wanted from the Star Wars prequels. If they'd given us that in Star Wars with Han, Luke, Leia, and Lando, Chewbacca, etc., on the cockpit of the Falcon, yeah, that's the kind of fan service that I want. A lot of people said, "Oh, it's fan service. It's just fan service." Yeah, thanks. Give me more of that, please. That's why we're fans. So, but yeah. Anyway, well, let's go back to that. Star Trek in the 1980s, especially. I'd watched the motion picture, wasn't impressed initially, but then watched Star Trek 2: The Wrath of Khan, sort of mid-80s. And I remember we recorded that. That was the first videos we actually recorded off the television. I watched it over and over and over again. In fact, I watched it back to back. I'd play it, rewind it, watch it again, play it, rewind it. It was just amazing to me. I absolutely adored it. And in fact, that Lost era, all the Star Trek original series cast movies, all the way up to Star Trek 6 on Discovered Country, is one of my favourite eras. And I'd love them to do more with that just after the Kittimer Accords. So I thought that would be absolutely amazing. So yeah, Star Trek, massive influence on me. Of course, Alien. I've spoken about Alien a few times. Not going to do it again now, although I am really tempted to. Alien's my favourite film in the entire world. Thematically, aesthetically, design-wise, to me, it's what I've been looking for in a science fiction film pretty much forever. And then Aliens. Aliens, as far as action adventure games is concerned, was like my go-to movie. I had back in the 90s. I had 3 movies. You know, when you come home and you're a little bit drunk, I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to watch a film. I've been out, I've had a good time. I'm going to watch a film. And the cassettes that went into the VHS were Aliens, The Empire Strikes Back, because why not? Oh no, there was 4 actually. Aliens, The Empire Strikes Back, Hawk the Slayer, I'll come back to that in just a minute. And in the late 90s, it was Starship Troopers. So yeah, Aliens, just absolutely stunning piece of filmmaking. The, the films after that I can kind of take and leave. Alien 3, the assembly cut was much better. I need to make an entire video about me and Alien. But or maybe I shouldn't actually. I kind of go on about it quite a lot, don't I? There you go. There's a poll for you. Do you want to make a big long video about my feelings towards Alien? I think I've pretty much made them clear. So, but yeah, Alien for sure. I remember trying to shoehorn action scenes of aliens into the games I was running at the time. Ridiculous. So yeah, going back to the 80s again. Yeah, Hawk the Slayer. I remember seeing Hawk the Slayer. I think that was mid 80s as well. And we didn't have much as far as fantasy films was concerned. I think I'd seen the Ralph Bakshi film, and I'd seen sort of Jason the Argonaut, which was an absolutely massive favourite of mine. Things like Jack the Giant Killer, which is terrifying when the witches go onto the ship. That terrified me as a kid. And the Harpies in Jason the Argonauts terrified me. And then all the other films, you had like the Clash of the Titans was one of the first cinematic experiences that I had as a kid post Star Wars. I don't remember much of seeing Star Wars. I've been told I was taken to see it, but I don't remember much of it. I do remember seeing of the X-Wings in a big hall with it running around, but I think I was too young to appreciate it, to be honest with you, or too overexcited for it to stick in the engrams of my brain. So, yeah, Clash of the Titans, one of my first cinematic experiences, and absolutely adore it. It's Ray Harryhausen, you can't go wrong, can you really? So I used to watch all the old films, and he used to make all the Sinbad films and what have you. So that was kind of my fantasy sort of go to. But Hawk the Slayer came along, and it started to, I don't know, it kind of gave me. It felt a bit more grounded, and it was easy to play at as well. If you wanted to go out and play Hawk the Slayer, you just find a bunch of woods, grab a couple of sticks, and you're off. Because let's face it, Hawk the Slayer didn't go nuts on sets, did it? So it was really easy to replicate as a kid who wanted to go out and play. That was absolutely fantastic. I've got to apologise for the video quality. Actually, the sun is so bright in there; it's kind of ruined up the lights, so it's kind of messed with the definition for some way. It's really bad. We're in Britain, and it's a lovely sunny day, and I don't know what that thing is in the sky. Should I worship it? So, sorry, I was saying. Anyway, yeah, Hawk the Slayer. I don't even love it on I don't even love it ironically. I just love it. It means a lot to me. And there was other films like Conan the Barbarian, which is an absolutely stunning piece of work. Which is it's not Conan, but visually and the Basil Polidorus music. Oh my God, it's one of the greatest soundtracks ever composed. He's up there with my other ones that I love, which is of course John Williams' Star Wars amazing soundtrack, Jerry Goldsmith's Alien, absolutely brilliant, Jerry Goldsmith's Star Trek motion picture, James Horner's Star Trek 2 soundtrack, which is an absolute work of genius. And then along came Basil Polidorus, and I've added him to my list of favourite composers because his music for Conan is now, no matter what version of Conan I read, whether it's the comic or the books or anything like that, that's the music that I hear in my head whenever I see Conan. And even though Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't an accurate depiction of Conan, and some of the aspects to his life wasn't accurate to the book, it's still a fantastic film on its own merits. And it introduced me to Conan as well, so I can't fault it. Can't fault it for that. And then there was another film as well called The Sword and the Sorcerer with the three blades. What is going on? But I tell you what, it was a fun film. It had really nice little quips in it. There was some quite dark moments. Music was fantastic, and it was fun, and it was action packed. And you know that's what you want as a teenage kid. And then as the 80s progressed, there was other films. There was films like Predator, another Schwarzenegger classic, which I actually used as a Twilight 2000 game. Set in the Vietnam War, and they thought they were hunting down a special operations person, but they weren't. They were hunting they were hunting down a predator. The predator then turned around and started hunting them. Long story, great game. And then in the 80s as well, my favourite TV show ever, of course, Robin of Sherwood. Absolutely fantastic. I watched it once a year. I watched the whole series at least once a year. Michael Pate and Jason Connery ones are absolutely stunning. It's visually great. People say it's aged. Well, yeah, it's aged. It was a TV show from the 80s, but I think what they did at the time, visually using lens filters and smoke machines and just really creative lensing and the music, they created this atmosphere and some great Richard Carpenter writing as well as along with the other guys. It created some really deep, wonderful characters. which you could really get attached to. Absolutely adored it. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely stunning piece of work. Absolutely love it. So yeah, that's what influenced me in the 80s mainly. I mean, there are more. I mean, throughout the 90s, there was other films that came along. But I always found it was the stuff that got into my head when I was a child, as a teenager. Before I hit my 20s, there was loads of stuff going on that I was getting into my head and mixing it all up creatively. So there's loads of stuff getting sucked in there. I mean, there's other stuff as well, like the Black Hole, the Disney movie, which I think's brilliant. I love it. Yeah, it gets a bit messed up at the end, which is all a bit strange. And it couldn't really decide what kind of film he wanted to be. Was it cutesy Disney? Was it weird space opera? Space opera sci-fi? Was it a think piece about the nature of man? No, it was a bit of a mess, but it was a big fun mess. It's so well designed. It looks like Maximilian, let's face it, stunning piece of work. And quite gruesome, especially where the way Durant goes out. But yeah, really good. The John Barry score to that is another one of my favourites as well. Absolutely adore that. So yeah, so that's basically it for this video. I just thought I'd share some thoughts. I think mainly what I'm trying to get across is the fact that if I'm looking for inspiration, and if I'm a bit stuck and I don't find anything modern around me, something modern around me might trigger something in me. Like there's been an announcement recently when this video's been made, they're going to make another Lord of the Rings film. They're going to call it Hunt for Gollum. It's going to be set before the Lord of the Rings, of course, directed by Andy Serkis. From what I understand, it's all come out of Variety, so pinch of salt with lots of this sort of stuff. So, and it sounds great, but I wasn't a fan of Rings of Power, so and I wasn't a big fan of the Hobbit trilogy, so I'm kind of holding fire. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, but let's see where it goes first. Yeah, let's see what happens. I want to give him a chance. The same with Alien Romulus. Yeah, everything sounds great. Practical effects. The trailer looked fantastic. It gave me the haunting theme of the original Alien trailer. But let's see it up on the screen first, and then I'll make an informed decision. Instead of listening to all the people on the internet telling me what I should and shouldn't like. So yeah, I'm gonna sit down and watch them, and it's stuff like that just starts sparking memories in me, and it starts getting me a little bit excited. But there's nothing concrete to grab onto. So the first thing I do is go back in time to my youth and think, what was it that got me excited about this in the first place? And I'll sit down and I'll watch those films. I'll watch Robin of Sherwood. I'll watch Hawk the Slayer. I'll watch Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. At the moment, I'm re-watching all the Star Trek Next Generation. I'm on season 3 already. I struggled to get through season 1 even all this time later. Season 2 was an improvement, but season 3 I'm really enjoying again. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of them. Yes, I know what's going to happen, but I'm not just watching it because I want to remind myself what was going on back then. It's a bit of a comfort blanket to me. A lot of these old films are like comfort blankets. So there's probably loads of new material out there I can go and watch right now, and a lot of it's probably outstanding. But I want to sort of retreat back into what I loved about that sort of stuff back in the 1980s, because I find it's that gives me the inspiration, because that was what was fueling my teenage mind, and that's what I'm trying to capture. Did any of that make sense? Let me know if that made sense, because that's just how my mind works. So I did a post about it the other day. When you get home for a long day at work, it's raining outside, you get in, you get showered, you get cleaned, you wrap yourself in a warm blanket and you have a nice cup of tea. That's what watching Star Trek The Next Generation is like. That's what re-watching that show is like. It's warm, you know it, and it's comforting, and it's something that you look forward to. So yeah, so that's that really. So yeah, those are my influences. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't surprise me if I've already talked about this before, so I've gone into a little bit more detail. And not only that, as well, I've probably mentioned this a few times in different videos about the stuff that's influenced me, but I thought I'd focus on it a little bit more. And if anything else pops into my head, then I'll definitely mention it again. So that's that. So thanks for listening. It's alright.